Hello, welcome back to Primocalcio. Today is going to be a little bit of an impromptu cast here. We were discussing on the phone earlier about Italy's youth, the failure of the national team, where to go from here, what are the problems, and a couple of unique, more philosophical points. So, join us here for a rant cast. I'm Michael here with Anthony. Um, all right, Anth, national team's got problems. The Azzurri is a historically amazing team, and they have been losing their way. There's a lot of issues from youth development to the big teams not picking them up. Where do you want to begin here? I guess maybe let's talk about some of the initial happenings here that kind of sparked this combo, and then we'll talk about the actual national team, and maybe then we'll move into what needs to be done. What do you think?
Sure. I'm ready. I'm fired up for this one because this is what makes me turn on the TV with great enthusiasm is the national team because our club teams are no longer they have no national pride whatsoever. It's just a collection of random mercenaries. Um, and it's to me it's lost its value. I watched because I nostalgia, and that's the only reason. For the national team, I still really care. So
Same.
these are the casts I like the most. And that's why we started the podcast in the first place.
Yeah.
It's Primocalcio. It's not the you know you know Milan plus.
We watch for the hope that our teams can turn it around and somehow get back to a version of what we used to love. I don't see it on the horizon for either of our teams, but that's why we watch, right? So I agree. The national team is really kind of what gets me um, excited and hoping for them to succeed. I actually think they have a decent crop of talent now, whereas a few years ago they really didn't. Um,
Yeah.
but they're just
Well,
everything's been mismanaged.
I think that the important point is when I turn on the TV to watch this stuff, I want to see something that inspires me that I care about. I don't care about a black and white striped jersey. I care about why. Who is this team? What do they represent? What are they to me? I loved watching old Juventus when even as recent as the mid 2010s when we did have that core. It stood for something. The badge stood for something. The people who ran the club had a very clear philosophy.
Still felt like Juve.
It still felt like Juventus, and that was all thanks to Conte because we had lost that really after Calciopoli, and then after Conte left, it slowly declined. It took a minute, but it definitely slowly declined. And my interest faded out, and honestly, this podcast kind of brought me back to caring again. But without it, I mean, like we talked about in the Juve cast that we did last night. I mean, it's it. There's no reason for me to try and watch this team other than
Well, because your
nostalgia.
your
So
team, just like mine, doesn't even feel like what it represents. The reason why you fell in love with it, the reason why when people bond with teams, those reasons are essentially gone. I know it is for me. I'm hoping they come back, but it's essentially gone. So yeah, I mean, what are you watching? Just they wear the jersey. That's about it.
it matters because what makes this sport unique to other sports is the national implications. That you don't have that in American football. It's in American football. It's a bunch of mercenaries running into each other. It's money driven. Blah blah blah. It's the appeal of European football is exactly this. Like it when fans cheer for their team, the obsessive fans that make it so interesting as well. They were cheering for something that meant something and mattered, and now I just feel like it doesn't. It's just a bunch of mercenaries in shirts, all just playing for cash and doing poses when they score goals, like it's the biggest thing. I was just watching the NHL finals and Stanley Cup finals, and I'm watching these guys score incredible goals and do incredible things, and there's no self celebration. It's all about they go right over their boys and you know just a fist pound. It's nothing gratuitous. It's a totally different mindset than we have in this sport, which is I don't understand what's happening, and it matters because it doesn't have to be lost. I don't have to accept the new way. I shouldn't have to accept the new way because if we do, it's going to truly be lost forever because the fans really do have more an impact than we think. And if we demand that our teams get back to what made them great, what made for what was it, a century that they've existed in this with
Yep,
this premise of we're going to just shit on a century of
Milan
history
is
because
1899 right there.
yeah, Yeah, because because the TV told us that was bad to care about your, having national pride, and we have global brands now, that I shouldn't care anymore. It's like, no, 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 no. Sorry, I don't need that. I'm set in my life. I'm good. Um, when I'm going to spend an hour or 90 minutes of my weekend watching this, I want it to matter. So that's my little soapbox, and we can get on to the you know
Yeah, I'll
to
give
the
my
nuts and
take on all that at the very end. We'll kind of round out with that, but let's kind of get into some of the things that spurred this whole thing on. Was I started just posting little clips of things that I went reading on different news outlets on X and stuff like that of the mismanagement of a lot of the players. Now, it's been well known that Italy's U19s, their U21s, are always good. They're always up amongst the top. They're always producing excellent players, but then the big teams fail that generation for a long, long time now. They used to actually play these players. The big teams like Juventus, Milan, Inter Milan, even would pick them up, or even like the upper teams that are one level below would pick them up. These youth guys who are kind of coming on strong. Like, for example, why was Casade going to Torino when he was available for 10 million? Milan needed a player like that badly. And I mean, and I know people say these things all the time, but I will say it. He's a known Milan fan. Why would you not pick him up? He's 10 million. Instead, you go for Warren Bondo for the same price. What? Why? Just why? The question really is why. You're not saving much off a salary. You have a player who has all upside who could play for the national team, yet you choose to go foreign there. You're not buying a world class talent in Warren Bondo. So why would you go foreign there? And that's always been my issue. We say it a lot in this cast. If you're going to go outside of your own country, outside of your own development here, and actively harm or not develop your nation's youth, they should be a world class player, or at least somebody who has massive world class potential or talent. Otherwise, I don't understand a single move like that. Now, some of the moves here I'll pull up is going to be Vasily. Vasily's now been rumored to go away after the Club World Cup, and he's going to be going to, I believe, where was he linked with Vasily just recently?
somewhere in England. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Going, I
Yeah,
think like Tottenham or something like
this
that.
is in the news. Yes, yeah, yeah.
But he's basically 10 mil plus. He'll probably go for 15. It's a very, very talented kid. We're almost going to offload him for basically nothing. You get a kid of this talent caliber, this age, in any other country, he's going for 30, 40, 50. And I could understand if you're offloading somebody for 50 or so. But for 13, you're not going to keep your own youth, develop him, and have this guy become a staple of your team. Build a Roma core with this guy. Place of birth, Roma. Like, why would you
No,
sell
it's
this guy? Place of birth,
I
Roma. How can anybody
say it
care
all the
more than this
time.
kid?
It's a self-loathing culture, and it's wokeism, and it's virtue signaling, and that's the people who are running these clubs there's a specific agenda to desensitize the fans to their team so that they can move players without them giving a shit. Because
Well,
when the fans
they're
give a
also
shit about a player, it
owned by
makes them kings.
Americans, mainly.
Right. Well, exactly. So like they don't want a player being bigger than the team. They don't want the fans falling too in love with anybody because they want the ability to sell them at any point. So they just desensitize the fans, and this is how you offload a kid and they did it with Bove. Why would you get rid of Bove?
Yep.
He's an excellent player, and they just
It
offload
wasn't like
these
they
people
offloaded him for
for
like 50
pennies on
mil
the
either.
dollar.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just shit them out, flush them down, see you later. But then they'll bring in foreign talents and train up foreign talents for their national teams. Well, our guys are riding pine somewhere else because they didn't pay very much for them. They don't owe them anything. They don't care about them.
Yeah, no, Bob is a very good
It's not their
example.
property. Yeah.
Daniel Maldini, another great example. I mean, my God, you talk about like a name that carries weight in the footballing world, especially in the Italian world, especially at Milan. And they just offloaded him for nothing. Like, I think they literally offloaded him to have a future resale clause. I mean, obviously that was done to spite Paolo Maldini because Redbird has it out for
Yeah.
him, but like, still, that's ridiculous. If you objectively look at talent wise, where are you going to find a player like that for free who has actual like bonding with a club historically, 3 generations playing there? You can't buy that. You can't buy that anywhere else,
Well,
and
the
you had it for
fans don't
free.
demand that stuff anymore, though. The fans don't care about that. There's no if you care about that, you're labeled a nationalist and nostalgic. Pearl Clutcher. So it's this new generation that's been grown up, just smothered in apathy that doesn't allow their clubs to keep players that might mean a damn, that might give a damn. It's that's just how it is. It sounds mean, but it's true.
No, it's definitely true, and as I always say, I think people mistake this in saying, "Oh, you just like everything Italian this, Italian that." Well,
No,
for me, it goes for all the different countries. I I love when I see a Man U that has English players on it. That means something more. Right? I love when I see a Barcelona who's actually doing it right now. I love Barcelona right now, who
yeah,
mainly has Spanish
exactly.
kids from their youth
Yep,
academy. I respect the hell out of that team right now. Probably the only team that I actually respect in the world of football right now because
I
they're doing it
totally
the
agree.
right way.
Yep.
This is what I like to see. So then when Barca goes out there, they are Spanish and they're proud to be Spanish, right? Yes, they've got world class foreigners on there too, which is how you build a team. But when they win, it means something to them, right? It represents their style of play, what they bring to the world, their uniqueness. Italy is losing their uniqueness. They're just becoming robots of other teams that they want to be inspired by, like Pep Guardiola teams or like this team and that team. They're losing their identity. England is kind of losing that too because they're all just inundated by Pep ball as well, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not knocking Pep, just saying the country has no more pride because they're just taking on a different identity, and this what happens. And it's really prominent in Italy because they're also not just doing what England's doing and just playing a certain way, but they're also not even making money off it, so they can't progress even further. So Italy's really in the dumps right now, and I think they have to go back to basics and start promoting their own youth and being almost like defiant about it.
I completely. The only way to save this whole thing, and there's a lot of people who wax poetic about this. They're all wrong. The way you do it is you must be defiant. You must say, and I don't think the club owners, because we sold half our clubs to foreign ownership. The only way to do it is to incentivize. We've had the growth decree for
Yes,
so many years.
incentivize your
Like
own.
yeah, let's have the shrinkage decree. Call it whatever you want, but like, yeah, say, hey, you get a tax break if you hire your own countrymen to work for your team. let's let's actually benefit our own country's population by you know incentivizing the companies they work for to hire them.
Or they should go
That
back
might
to an
be a
old
good
school
idea.
rule where they would have a certain amount, like you must have,
Yeah,
this many from your either your youth development or from your national team or from your nationality on your team. It doesn't have to be a wild number, but something smaller, like four at the very least, right? So
yeah,
now you're incentivized to buy more to progress your youth. Something small like that, and you watch, you do that for 3, 4 years, national team is going to explode.
that's for sure. We've always been a very proud, successful nation, and especially in the European football sense, we've always been one of the leaders in it. We've lost our identity and how we play, and we've completely abandoned our national players from.
Politics
And
and
it's
finances.
not even the kids. Like even our middle-aged players, we trash them. We'd rather bring in, like you said, a Warren Bondo than bringing in
Why would you
a
bring in
Casade.
Bondo versus Castare for Milan? Because obviously that's
Who
my
the hell
team.
is he?
Why would you bring in Pellegrino from Argentina rather than Calafiori? Same exact price. And I always bring this example up because it makes no sense. Like I wouldn't hammer on this as much. It makes no sense.
You don't want the fans to care too much about any specific player because look at the trouble Maldini caused.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think that's the
Maldini,
case at all
Tonali,
these clubs.
they're holding it
Yeah,
against
right.
them, and they won't let it
Yeah,
go. Like
and they
that's the one thing the fans
well,
will undo.
they should.
Agree.
They should. If the fans are right. But when you and make no mistake. I mean, Juventus is just the same. They're an American-owned club. We can pretend like Elkin. If you think Elkin cares about the Italianness and his family heritage, you can think again. Elkin cares about one thing and one thing only: making money. Elkin was annoyed that out of his gazillion financial interests, this was causing him a problem. So he appointed a bunch of soulless financial vultures to handle the problem for him.
Make
They
that money.
failed. And this is what he does. So it's the same situation that Milan's in. It's just
Yeah.
a familiar name for Juve people. So it's not different. And
No, it's not
really
different,
look at what
and
he
they've
did with the
acted in
Ferrari
kind.
F1 team. Yeah, it's so we're in the same boat. Our teams are I think in very very similar situations, and they don't want anyone latching on too tight because they want to be able. The main way these clubs make money is by selling players,
Yeah,
and
but
if
they're
they need
not
to
even
sell a
making
guy,
money off of it. The thing is,
well,
I
because
get that, but they're not even making money off it. 13 mil for or whatever for Pisili. The next example
Right.
is what?
No, you're right there. Yeah, that I don't know how to even describe that other than
Next
they're
example
just
is
trying to
Diego
sabotage
Coppola,
the culture.
10 mil
Yeah,
to Brighton.
10
Guy's
million.
21 years old. He just played his first games for the national team. Super bright future ahead of him. None of the big teams are willing to take a 10 mil chance on this guy. Like, I mean, come on, that's not even a lot of
No,
money.
because he made 2 bad plays in his very first ever start at the national team where he was completely isolated,
I don't
and
even
so
think that's it.
no, it's he's already castrated by that, and it's Hellas Verona. Not a single team in Serie A wanted to make an offer for that guy,
Yeah,
even though he had 15
I
clearances and was their
disagree
best
about
defender.
the mistakes being the reason because nobody talked about that at all. I think it's basically just no matter who you are, if your value increased, let's say he was on Hellas, let's say he went from 0 to 10 mil, that's capital gains. There's a team like that's going to take that. Yeah, the issue is our teams not taking a guy like this. 10 mil is a very fair valuation. Honestly, the world has gone crazy with the valuations. The guy like this, if he's English,
Yeah.
is probably worth 30, 40 mil. But 10 mil is actually a fair valuation for a 21-year-old without a ton of experience. However, the problem is our teams don't take the risk. That's the big
No.
issue. And it's not even a big risk. These days, 10 mil is nothing in the scope of world football. It's nothing. Really nothing. So, I mean,
No,
there's plenty of examples like this. It's nonstop. I mean, one thing we hammer all the time is Juventus' whole destruction by Giuntoli. All their youth
yeah.
gone for nothing. I mean, it's not like they sold Rovella for 50 million. They sold for 18 over 3 years or 2 or 3 years. Crazy.
Yeah, after our podcast last night, we did the Rebuild Juventus podcast. We just pulled up the team we had the year before Giuntoli got there, and we're like, "This is so much better." We needed like 1 or 2 pieces to add here, wasn't it? We weren't that far off.
Well,
It's
and you
it's
had
it's
core and culture and guys who grew up in the youth system who Juve means something to them. This is what every fan should be asking for. Is their team should mean something to them. So when they do win, it matters.
but they don't want meaning. Meaning means obligation. Meaning means responsibility from ownership.
Of
They they
course.
they they're just assets. They want to move them and shuffle them around as they see fit, and whatever makes their shareholders happy. They need to show a profit because it's all about the shareholders, man. You don't have some unreasonable bastard that just wants to win and loves the club and loves winning
Yeah.
anymore. And so like I'm always amused when people are like, I don't care who we hire, I just want to win. It's like, you do know who's running our club, right? Like, just by the sheer fact that you're following this club is contradictory. So let's save the platitudes for something else. It almost seems hopeless at this point, because if we can't generate enough money from from TV rights or whatever, we're never going to have a chance to complete, because the FIFA fair trade garbage isn't isn't like a salary cap. It doesn't bring everyone into the same kind of. It doesn't enable smaller clubs.
No,
It
no, no.
actually
It
restricts
actually
them
made it worse.
completely.
The
Yeah, it made
gap
it
has never been
worse.
larger.
Yeah, it just makes it worse. So like the clubs that make a lot of money just gets to stay at the top. The clubs that don't get completely squashed, and it's completely killing Italian teams. And especially because even though other teams are guilty of the same offenses, they never get caught for it. They never have to pay their dues the way Juventus had to. We just constantly keep getting used as an example for things that every other team is doing, and multiple teams have been caught for it,
Milan is
and they
just
don't have to
now,
pay the price.
as of this year, I think it's this year, next year, like finally exiting the whole like stuff that they were in where they had to keep it underneath a certain amount. It's just now ending for Milan. Like it's pretty wild. So it really harmed the Italian teams mainly, but even
Yeah,
with
but
that,
Man City can go and do this every single year, and it's not a problem.
oh yeah, and then when they get investigated,
Inter can
they
do it
just
every
pay
year,
them
and it's not a
off. And
problem.
they just pay them off.
Right.
They got the
Yeah.
right guys in the right
So
places, and they pay off. But I will say this: even with that, you can still have the money to buy a 10 million Diego Coppola, a
yeah,
5
of
million
course.
Riccardo Calafiori, right?
Right.
You can buy you just have to be smarter. And once you get there, you can build a bit of not maybe not a full dynasty, but you can get there. You need to have your
Yeah.
youth sector developed. Like Barcelona, they put their infrastructure into youth. So when they do grow up, and it's like a machine, it keeps churning and churning. Italy has to do this because it doesn't take that much money to do. That's where you can
It
actually
takes
make a difference.
it takes time though.
It does
The
take
thing
time.
is, like,
Fine, great.
someone has one bad game, I remember, last year, Chiesa came off a major injury and he put in like 9 goals, had some goal contribution. He had a good recovery season. It was very similar to Del Piero's when he came back from his
He came back.
season off from an ACL. And he got like everyone was just lambasting the guy. Uh,
As you said,
you know,
self-loathing culture. There's
it's a
no no
totally
no
self-loathing.
forgiveness. They're not building
Yeah.
each other up. I say this a lot. I think that is one thing that England does very well. They build their youth up very, very well, and Italy needs to start doing this. They give some chances, guys. Are you going to grow? And a great example that I've used maybe about 2 or 3 times now. Lamine Yamal has played over 100 games already for Barcelona. Francesco Camarda, one of the brightest talents that Italy has seen, at least stats wise. Um, and he's young and he's already grown up almost like a man size wise. He's played just crap minutes, just very garbage minutes at the end of games, a couple minutes here and there. How are you going to expect him to gain consistency in a position like center forward where you've got
It's
to get
not.
into the game? You got to feel the other guys as weight on you. You got to actually move, like learn how to move in a pro game. You are never going to learn or grow. It's been a wasted year for him when he could have played at least half the games. So this is the
Problem too
difference
is he
right here.
doesn't, but he doesn't have a team, a well-oiled, well-built team of with seasoned veterans and leaders that you can put him into. He's playing with a bunch of mercenaries that don't care if they're there or not, and like you're not going to get the kind of output out of a guy like Camarda if you put him in, and you still should play him because he should be. There's no reason he shouldn't be, and Abraham should. But it's not like you're plugging him into an environment that they used to have where they had incredible players that he could assimilate it,
Of
in
course.
assimilating in that environment, like you're learning so much so fast. So, when you see like the Yamal thing, like, yeah, it's a perfect storm. He's got a team that's, it's a team built from within. They have a ton of pride. They're super nationalistic, and he's fitting right into a system that suits him perfectly that he's grown up in. Like, where do you come to when you're in Juventus? Half these guys weren't even here 2 years ago. They don't know what they don't care. They're
Same
not.
same
They're all
with
going their
Milan. It's a
separate
brand new
ways at the
team
end of
besides like four
practice.
guys.
Yeah, they don't understand what it means. And all this, we don't know what it means to wear the shirt. Of course, these people don't know what it means. You don't buy people and they suddenly learn what it means to wear the shirt. You can do all the scream faces while you point at the jersey logo you want. You can do all those photos you want. You could kiss the badge all you want. That's all just meaningless platitudes to appease the fans so they get good Instagram reviews. Like if you have guys like Camarda and Liberali in Milan. Juventus threw all our guys away. We had like guys like Rapella we could have brought up. Like, who are you going to bring them up? What system are you bringing them up into? We didn't have one. It's all gone. So there's no consistency. There's no patience. There's no willingness to build from within. And that I think is a real big problem. And
There is
fans are
no
generally wrong.
patience.
So
No,
we
that's a
should
big
stop
point.
losing.
There's no patience, and this comes a lot from the teams who have owners who are trying to churn profits. Why do we think, always use Milan because I'm very in depth on their stuff right now. Why do you think Milan is now going with guys like Granit Xhaka and Luka Modric? Because they're ready now. Yes, they're not like going to give you any value at all, like monetarily, because they're older, but they are going to come in with team experience, and they cannot. Why they bought Allegri? They can't risk missing out on top four because they're going to lose too much money. Are those signings going to do anything for Milan 3 years from now? Are they going to build them to actually start growing as a team and to slowly get back to where they're from? Absolutely not. They're going to get them by in the short term, get Redbird probably top four, and get their cash so they keep turning a profit. And they have to rinse and repeat every year. And Milan will just be a middling team who's battling for top four every year. Here and there battles for a Scudetto. That is exactly what Redbird wants. Exactly what half these other teams want. They just want to do well enough to make some run in the Champions League, get that money there, get the top four. That's it. There's no more pride to actually be the best, to build the dynasty the way that you want to, the way that your team represents. It's gone as far as right now the owners go of our teams. And
That's
that is a huge
100%.
thing.
That's absolutely the same thing that's happening with Juventus. That was the whole Giuntoli plan. I don't know Kamoli. I don't know what kind of person he is. I'm sure he's someone I don't want to be here, but I just don't know. So I knew who Giuntoli was. I knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
So I knew right from the second we signed him, he was on that same exact agenda. Make money, just shuffle players. You're basically running a whorehouse for footballers. I can make money on this guy, sell him. I'm going to get him, buy him, amortize it out. Who cares? That's not what I want my team to be. That's what mid clubs do. That's not what Juventus and Milan do. Juventus, Milan should be building dynasties. They should be building teams up that are going to last a generation, that are going to be
It should be a very big event when
consistently
they sell
good.
somebody. Now it's every year.
As long as they bring them in, the people buy the jerseys, they buy the tickets, they say the chants because they think they're being good fans by enabling this bad behavior. And as long as they're there, the club doesn't have any incentive to do any better than top four because they make just as much money. If they all they got to do is get in the Champions League, that's the golden ticket, baby. And the shareholders are happy because you're a top four team. The owners don't. You think John Elkin gives a crap
No. They
if
don't. And
Juventus is a dynasty
they
or not?
don't
No.
care. And honestly, I say this a lot. They don't need to care. They are not coming in here with any skin in the game as far as history goes. They're just trying to trim profits, especially Redbird. They're a fund. They exist to make money. The onus, in my opinion, is on the fans. If you want to see Milan succeed again, if you want to watch a team that you're proud of, same with Juve, same with any of these teams here, you have to make a statement. And the only statement these guys ever know is money. You have to stop. Honestly, this sounds, I know some people are going to say, oh my God, how could you ever? You had to stop showing up to the stadium. You had to stop buying the tickets, stop buying the jerseys. Make a statement. Say, listen, I don't want to watch this.
I ask people like that. I said, why do you turn on the TV on Sunday? What's 90 minutes of your life? What are you looking for? Like when you followed whatever Milan or Juventus, whatever our clubs are, in Inter Milan, Napoli, I think those are
Or
our
whatever
big
club. When you
four.
follow whatever club,
Whatever
why
club.
do you follow them?
Like, did you just follow them because they had like a cool player at one point, and now you're like, oh, I'm a fan because I like Nedved. It's like you didn't care about like the history of the team, what it represented, the way we played, like who we were. That didn't mean anything to you. You're just like, I like Nedved. He has blonde hair and he's fat. He's good. Come on, it's got to be more than that.
Now,
And if that's the majority of the fan base saying that, then we got a problem. And I
I
mean,
mean,
it's a moot argument at that point. So it's an Italian club. We don't make as much money, and we're never going to, especially with the FIFA garbage that they put in place. So how do we do it? Defiance, absolutely. Play our way. Stop caring about the new fads that are coming out. Stop caring about what the British media keeps saying. Oh, so boring. Good. Play boring. Play even more boring. Dial it up to fucking 11. Give me the most boring, most pragmatic, nasty football I've ever seen in my life, and do it so Italian style that no one else can stand it. Because that, to me, has always been the Juve way. Truly, Milan definitely is, more balanced in that approach. But I crank it up, build from within, train your people that you bring into your club to play that way, make an entire system, and you know when you step into the black and white shirt what you have to be. There's no doubt. But if you're going to shift the team around every couple of years and have a new identity, your identity is lost. That's not an identity. You're just changing costumes, changing hats. That's not a team.
I think that's a very big thing. Is team identity is kind of being lost across the globe, and we are definitely entering the phase of the modern way to play, barring maybe a few teams out there. But it's kind of being lost as every team is slowly becoming a robotic copy of another team. They're just wearing different jerseys. So at some point, if we don't go back a little bit to styles of play, or at least representing a certain culture, country, stuff like that, then eventually it won't matter who you support anymore because the teams are all the same. They're just going to have a different name or a different jersey color, which won't really matter. And this is kind of where we are headed.
Worship.
This is where we're headed, though. I mean, they're England, or English teams don't really play very English anymore. Italian teams definitely don't play Italian anymore. They definitely do not. They think that they can defend, but they don't do it in the way that they actually used to or should. It's all just kind of figments of the past, and nobody actually does it anymore. And you're losing that identity. Is anybody actually scared of an Italian team with a 1-goal lead anymore?
No,
Absolutely not.
I'm not. I don't feel comfortable anymore with
No.
a goal lead. That's for sure.
The country has changed, and they have to kind of get back to basics, or it's not going to work. They need to be proud of who they are. I mean, this is how you get back to it. So, I think it starts with a few ways. I think we'll agree here. Youth development has to be very, very strong at all the big clubs. They need to bring up.
What does that mean?
They need to actually put money into the youth sectors. Like Milan needs to actually take their kids,
No,
bring them
they
up.
do.
No, they
They
sell
sell them
them.
off.
They sell
Yeah,
them.
right. That's
They
it.
have to actually
Yes.
use them to develop, to progress, to slowly integrate into the main team. And then over time, it will work. It's not going to work in a year. It's not going to work in 2 years. You have to be okay playing the long game. You have to rebuild. Germany did it a while back, right? You have to
Yep.
do this. Like, it's time. Italy is struggling. It is time. You have to be okay with battling for a few years. The problem is now that there's so many foreign owners, hedge funds, Oak Tree at Inter,
They don't
and
care.
Redbird at Milan, they are not going to care about waiting for them to develop history.
We've sold all our teams off.
Yes.
I mean, who are typically, historically, the big three teams, and I don't think it's this way anymore. I think Napoli's surpassed all of them. But the big three teams are all owned by foreign interests.
100%.
So Napoli. This is why So I've always Napoli's always been my number 2 team because that's where our family and friends are all in there. When I go there, that's where I go. Blah blah blah. But I chose Juventus first, so I liked what they used to represent. But they still have an Italian owner, unapologetically Italian owner too. And I don't care about it, his comments in the press and blah blah blah. Oh, he made fun of our
That's
club.
fine.
I couldn't care less. He's a proper Italian owner that's maintained a standard for his club, even though they don't generate the most cash, and they're in the South, which is typically more difficult than being in the North. He's done a great job. And he didn't sell out. All of our clubs have sold out, dude. Inter, Milan, and Juventus have all
Yep.
sold out.
Yeah.
They're sold. So I don't think it's ever going to get fixed, dude. I mean, this is why I keep asking for Agnelli back.
It has to be the fans. No, it
He
must be
made a
the fans.
mistake. Yeah, no,
There has to be
we
enough
need Agnelli
fan
back.
pressure and enough country pressure to want something.
Yes.
There has to be
They will cave
a
to the
law.
pressure.
No, in my opinion, there has to be a law. We almost need to go back to hey, you got to play this many per, in general.
Yeah.
That's the only way to kind of do it. Where these foreign owners have to respond. That's it.
I want to call it the shrinkage decree because we had the growth.
That's another way too.
I want the shrinkage decree.
That's another way too.
Well, I think the only way to do it. I don't think you can make a law because people are going to say that's nationalistic. And
no, they did it in the past. It's been done in the past.
It needs to happen, no doubt about it. I would prefer that, but I think giving a tax incentives is also a good way to do it because all these guys care about
they're going to spend money
anyway. So
yeah. Those are definitely two ways, man, for sure.
Yeah.
So we can do that. We can do one of those two things. I think that, but they also have to be okay with the fans need to be okay with saying, listen, this is going to take a few years to develop. It's fine. This is the right path. Stay on the path. The team and the country will progress as a whole, and the national team is going to respond in kind. Because right now, I'm not loving what I'm seeing. Like Mancini had the national team playing great, but that was kind of like a very unique flash in the pan season there. Because none of the club teams did amazing on a grand stage with all those players. I mean, it's they needed some help.
Juventus was doing well. Everyone cries because we lost Champions Leagues, but we were there. And we were doing well. Inter's doing well. So in the past 3 years, Inter has been in the Champions League final twice. No other country has put 2 teams in the Champions League final. So that's not that, but Inter's also one of the few teams that's
they actually are supporting the national team. Curiously enough. A little bit.
But in typical Marotta fashion, though, as soon as Conte left, that all stopped.
It will fade. It's already fading.
He faded out with Juve, and that's why Juve faded out. He's fading out with Inter, and that's why Inter's fading out. You need to bring Conte back to set it all up, and look what he's doing in Napoli. He's doing all the right stuff, and I think Mana's going to do a really good job there. But I digress on that. It's not that bad. It's bad. It's not that bad because none of the other countries are that good. You can't tell me a single team in the world and that has a field of world-class talents. Maybe a team has 2. Maybe. It's the whole level of standard of the game has dropped drastically. So if you're going to compare our current roster with what we had when we won the last World Cup, or that's irrelevant because Spain doesn't have Iniesta and Xavi and Busquets, and they don't have those guys anymore either. So they got Pedri and some 19-year-old kid, Lamar. The rest of them, they could be anybody. It doesn't matter. They're all robots. So it's not. Other teams aren't that good. So it's not like there's a mountain to climb. But the hill, you got to at least attempt to climb the hill. We're not even attempting to do it. And it's like,
It's
well,
gotta be
what do you expect,
from
guys?
the FIGC and from Serie A in general.
Yeah,
They have to make a change because the owners will not listen, or will not listen, but they won't just do it out of the goodness of their own hearts. They are here to
right.
make money. As I said, I can't even blame them. That's literally who bought them. I just hate that's my club, but that's what they have come to do, make cash. It has to be
Yeah,
on the
fine.
FIGC to force their hand. They want their national team to be good, be proud, and actually grow their own talents, then they have to enforce the rule. One of the two that we suggested probably has to happen because I don't see another way.
Yeah.
Right?
Those are the only two options. You got to
Yeah,
pick one of those two because it's not just the top clubs that are doing it. It's all like if you
all of
look
them,
at
all of
the
them.
German teams, the Spanish teams, the French teams, from the middle to the table to the bottom, those teams are French, they're Spanish, they're German. Our teams are all foreign. We're developing everyone else's talents for them.
Udinese has been foreign for
We're a farm
years. Like,
system.
it's crazy. They had
Yes.
they had Lorenzo Luca. That's it. Everybody else was
Yeah.
foreign. I mean, that's crazy.
Total joke.
I mean, and
Well, they
they've been
had
a middle
the one
table
little
team the
guy.
whole year.
Who's the little guy that they never
Oh
even
God,
play?
he's a substitute. I can't even remember his name. But he's a
He barely
Pafundi.
plays.
Pafundi.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
Pafundi. He
yeah,
barely plays. He
never plays.
barely
He gets 10
plays.
minutes every 3 games.
Yeah.
That's,
It's a joke. And so, what do you expect? So it has to be a financial incentive or a rule,
yes, it must.
because they're never, yeah, it's never going to improve if
And
they
that
don't
would
do that. So
change that crucial point that I like to talk about is right after like the U19s, U21s, when these guys really need to take that next step to develop into that top player. That's when it changes right there. And making a rule or an incentive like that is gonna force these clubs, the big clubs who used to take chances on these guys, to do it again. It has to happen. So otherwise, national team's gonna struggle indefinitely. They're gonna have a couple of seasons where they look good, then they're gonna fail again. If this does not change, you will see the cycle repeat over and over again. So that's where I kind of end here. I think that's what you got to do. Any final thoughts on your end?
well, I want to talk a little bit about Gattuso before we close the show.
Gattuso?
Yeah, it's him taking over the national team.
Okay,
How excited are you about Gattuso taking over the national team?
I'm not excited. I think that's a bad choice. I feel like the FIGC once again failed in not getting a guy like Carlo Ancelotti and letting him go to Brazil.
Or
Not
Allegri.
getting
You
a
had
guy like
Allegri
Max
later. Yeah.
Allegri, who is a team organizer and a tournament style coach. You have two guys sitting there and you let them go to different clubs. That's unforgivable.
Why? Why did we
Gattuso's
hire
going to give
Mr.
you
Clean in the
grinta.
first place?
That's it.
Cool.
Tactically, he's
Yeah,
going to
how
be
far does
poor
yeah.
team selection wise. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm curious about. So
Maybe all they need is
I
belief. I don't know. And Gattuso would definitely give them
no,
belief. I don't know. Maybe that's all they need. I don't know.
this
Maybe
isn't a
it'll be
Disney
magical.
movie. this, this isn't
You don't
Gordon
know.
Bombay and
It's
the Mighty Ducks.
2025.
You,
Maybe Disney's what they
you
need.
more than well, actually, if there was any a time, if there was ever a time
Where love and
where
belief would,
you could get by just
would
yeah,
win.
it now is
It's now.
the sport's so soft now that you could probably get by just on love and belief.
That's right.
But
Unicorns
well,
and
no,
magical rainbows might win the
well,
day.
but we did have unicorns and magic rainbows. Spalletti, he wanted his players to play with joy. A guy that said that was actually in charge of
Yeah.
adult males
He wanted them to play with
playing
joy.
his professional sport.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you,
I want you
Joy.
to play
Joy
with
is
joy.
losing 3-0 to Norway. That's what a joy. Guys, the
What a
results
joy.
matter when you're on the field. Like,
Yeah.
yes, with my
Yeah.
team, I don't care as much about it because I want them to build. But for when you're on a national team, all that matters is winning.
I think this all starts with the complete coring out of the FIGC. Everyone needs to be fired. They've been a complete shit show for a
Awful.
decade now.
So bad. From
They,
TV deals to everything, to
yeah,
infrastructure, TV deals. Not allow. I mean, the not just forcing the hand of the cities, which they need to be
Yeah.
getting into these politics to not have the teams not owning their own stadiums besides Juve. That's crazy. They're so far behind. So
all
far
the
behind.
ultras should be gathering in front of their office. All the ultras should be combining as one to fight the greater cause. And whatever the ultras do, I don't know, just whatever it takes, just get them out of there. And we need to get a new a fresh group of people in, not younger. That's not what I'm saying.
Proud.
Maybe not.
They need to
Just
have
people
a
have
proud
some Italian
vision.
pride.
Exactly. Some Italian
Yeah.
pride saying, hey, listen, like, we have lost our way. I want to bring Italian, our actual Italian youth, our Italian team back to the forefront where they belong. Italy is still holding on to the second most World Cups. Brazil is, funny enough, suffering the same identity crisis. Like,
Yeah.
they're the two
Well-
historically by far the best national teams in history, and they're both suffering from this identity crisis.
Well, they're very. It's also very old school mentality where like you have to have high IQ, you have to be expressive, you have to play free. People don't do that anymore. It's all like you're gonna be a robot. You're gonna come back and play defense. You're
Yeah,
gonna cover. We're gonna geek and press. Blah, blah. Okay, it's everyone's the same. And Italy and Brazil were super unique countries in the way they
very
play.
unique.
So, you know, I want to get back. I think both countries need to are having the same exact problem. Like I said, I think they
Dude.
need to get back to why they were good and just stay in defiance of the
Yes.
European quote unquote standard. F them. What's with
Italy
standard?
needs
Get
to be a
out of here.
defensive powerhouse with
Yes.
some flair and attack, and then Brazil needs to play Yoga Bonito, man. Brazil needs to play
Yeah.
that style and get back to just actually like. I mean, if you want to talk about team having joy, that's probably the only one who could get by with it, right? They
Yeah.
that's those teams need to do that. They're really suffering, and honestly, I would say from a football romanticism perspective, the footballing world is less beautiful without those two superpowers playing well. Well,
I
I
totally agree.
think people,
It's
just
all
football
it's all
fans
the
in
same
general,
without
should
them.
want this.
It's all the same without them. Italy and Brazil were super unique. Without them, it's all the same exact game with the same exact people. It doesn't. It's just different shirt colors. If I'm not going to turn the TV and see a team that stands for something or means anything, why am I doing it?
Yep,
Simple as that.
I agree. I think both of our teams are doing that. So hopefully there's something that gets done. It only happens with enough fan support. So hopefully the fans do something, or the FIGC does something, and maybe it does. The team does have to fully implode. Maybe they do, and this may sound crap, but maybe they do actually need to like miss a third World Cup. I
I'm
don't know.
100% in favor of that. I was in favor of that for Juve not qualifying for Champions League. I think that's the only way you fix these problems. If you hurt them where it matters the most, you hit them at their pocketbooks,
Yeah, if you
or
just
you
do
make it
well
so
enough.
nasty that they can't help but fire you. You've done such a bad job now that you got to be fired. It's I would rather see that than keep the crap we have right now because it's not going to get better. What are we going to
If
do
you
in the
keep
World Cup?
middling on
Pool?
by, yeah, exactly. If you keep middling on by, you're not going to change.
No,
It remains the
absolutely not.
same indefinitely.
We still have no structure, no no youth system, no commitment to our Italianness, no TV deals. None of that's going to change if we don't completely dismantle the FIGC. It needs to go completely.
All right, I'll round out by saying this. Basically, Italy needs to get back to being Italian, being proud to be Italian, redeveloping their youth. The big teams need to actually care about it, and the FIGC needs to be revamped. Let's end it there. Thank you guys for joining us, whoever did join here. And hey, if you guys are in support, start causing a ruckus on X, or just kind of start, just bring this stuff up, because this is how change starts.
Yeah,
So,
it
as
does.
all, oh, go ahead.
You actually are more powerful than you think. The fans have more power than they think.
Basically,
Go make a difference.
as always, guys, thank you for joining.
Wait,
Next,
like and subscribe. We need to say that,
oh
right?
yes,
That's the
yes,
thing.
that is an algorithm thing. Like and subscribe. But yeah, we'll probably be back with a lot more transfer news. We just had a little impromptu cast here just because we were both discussing it. But as always,
We were
thank you for
fired up,
joining.
baby.
And Forza Calcio. Ciao.